Hey everyone, welcome to the stream. How's everyone doing? Move this over here. How is everyone? Welcome. Oh, Victoria. Hey, long time no see. See our first member in here. And then I see lots of highs in the chat when I was just getting started. All of you are here early, 20 minutes until we start the class, but right now is a good time to ask any questions you might have. Doom Deanna says, the first time I've gotten to catch a live when it's live. Oh, nice. Strong Arm, hey. Hey, yeah, Strong Arm, wow. Can you believe it's already been over 4 years since I've started my live streams? I have currently... Let's see. Looks like there are 156 live stream lessons. I've done more live streams than that, but live stream lessons, well over 150. Yeah. There've been a lot. We've covered all of the basics, but some stuff I still want to recover. There have been some of my earlier lessons when I first started, I think back in 2018. Some of my first live streams were 2018. Let's see, when was my first one? Yeah, my very first one was August 12th, 2018. It's been 5 years. I've been doing live streams now for over 5 years, weekly, most weeks. I don't do it when I'm in Korea and I take a break after 2 lessons these days. But when I started, I used to do 3 live streams and then 1 break, and only recently switched to 2 live streams and a week break. Yeah, over 5 years, wow. Let's see. Aniki, welcome. Hello. 안녕하세요, says Aniki. Victoria says, I had to take a break due to personal schedule, but I'm finally back and very excited to learn more. Nice. Well, glad to have you back. Let me just scan some of the other comments. Lauren Holton says, I'm about to cook dinner. What are you going to make? I had lunch. I had a very big lunch. A Turkish food called kumpir. If anyone's had it, it's incredible. It's basically like loaded baked potato, but they know how to make their baked potatoes. So you take a potato and you bake it, and that's just the start. Now, an American baked potato, what we do is we'll add butter, cheese, sour cream, bacon. You'll have like chives in the sour cream. And if you want to be fancy, you can add like, I don't know. Actually, that's pretty much it. That's much all we do for a baked potato in the US. Maybe add extra cheese or something. But a kumpir, that's how you start. That's just the basics. So you first start with cheese and butter like normal, but then you go lots of chopped and pan-fried cabbage, sausage. You can add bacon too, peas, corn, pickles, jalapeno slices, banana peppers, and then you get, we added extra like pickled cabbage, kind of like sauerkraut. We also had Mexican chili peppers. And then on top of that, you can add, mayonnaise, ketchup, seasoning, salt, pepper, all that stuff. It just becomes this gigantic mountain baked potato, and it's wonderful. And you can make it any way you want. Some people, you can add like French fries on top if you want. It's basically just a baked potato with everything. Started making those like several years ago, my wife and I, because they seemed simple to make and they looked really good. And yeah, they're still pretty simple to make. Lauren Holton says, I say cook, but I just mean ramen with eggs and onion. You add onion to your ramen. That's interesting. Egg is pretty normal. The standard way to make your shin ramen, so your Korean ramen fancy in Korea, is you crack an egg into the bowl while you're cooking it. That's one way of making it fancy right away. Another way is you can do that, and then you can add a slice of American cheese on top. Or I shouldn't call it American. It's not really cheese, but you know what I'm talking about. The sliced cheese. Processed cheese is really common in Korea. Then you get cheese ramen. That's one of my favorites. And then of course, you have to eat it with some kimchi. But I don't eat that too much. Sabrina Nguyen-Schwander says, hello, I'd love to participate, but it's past 10:30 p.m. It's your bedtime. All right, then. Yeah, some people will be able to easily catch these streams. I know anyone in the US, it's going to be during the daytime. Right now, it's like, almost 2 o'clock here in Los Angeles. If you're on the East Coast, it's fine. Hawaii should be fine. Anywhere like that is fine. But once you start getting into some places in Europe, that's when the time difference is like, you can't do anything about it. It's going to be like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Until you get back over to Korea, then it's going to be 6 a.m. So it's quite early. Is onion in ramen strange? I don't think it's strange. I just don't commonly have it. Now, you will see onion with ramen if you have what's known as rabbokki. Rabbokki is ramen and tteokbokki. So it's basically tteokbokki style sauce, but you add ramen to it. So make tteokbokki and then put ramen in it without the water, but just the noodles. And there you have rabbokki. I'm not a huge fan of rabbokki. I think when I want tteokbokki, I want the tteok in it, and I want the omuk, the fish cake. But then if I have ramen, I kind of want ramen with the soup, not in the sauce. But it's okay. Some people really like rabbokki, and also usually tteokbokki will have onions in it, so then you get the onions with the ramen in that case. Welcome, Traga. 안녕하세요. 안녕. Oh, this time it's a normal greeting this time. You almost tricked me. Aniki asks, what's the difference between 걸로 알고 있다, 걸 알고 있다? Well, 걸로 is I know it as, like I know that something is a certain way. Like the way I know it is what you say. Versus 걸 알고 있다 is just I know. So it's that nuance of that. That's just really it's a nuance difference. But I wouldn't learn it like that because 걸 is 것을. It's not really a separate form, 걸, but as long as you know that, it's okay. Just a nuance difference. Poland greets you. Oh, nice. Yeah, some people here saying where they're from. Jamaica. Jamaica, we have a bobsled team. Or we are the bobsled. I can't remember the song. You know the movie Cool Runnings? Jamaica has a bobsled team. I loved that movie as a kid. I watched it. When was the last time I saw it? Probably when I was a teenager. The movie's not that great. But it's really memorable, at least. It's like a kind of like a made-for-TV, like a high-quality made-for-TV movie, but very memorable. Bulgaria and Texas. Nice. Traga asks a question. What's the difference between 일, 날, and 하루? Are you just asking me this question to try to trick me? Or is this a real question? 일 is simply a Hanja word. It's used when you're counting days or saying what day of the week or the month it is, like the 3rd, 4th, 5th, or to say 5, 6, 7 days. 날 is simply the word for day. It's not the counter. 하루 means one day. So you can think of 일 as the same as one day, but haru also means the day long. It's like the day itself, not for counting, but just one day or a day. So if you want to say it was a good day, you would use haru. Or if you wanted to say, let's meet a different day, you'd use 날. So I'll say if you're going to describe the day, you can use 날 or haru, but it's different nuance, since haru is specifically one day. But if I wanted to go into more detail, I would have to provide you with examples. So that's the best I can do for a quick explanation. HM Costa says, 피난디? Second time here. Oh, you would want to use 3년 공부했어요. 3 for 3 years. Victoria, yes, that's right. You're from Poland. I remember that. It's easy to remember by your name. 11 p.m. in Poland. Nice. So, are Polish dogs from Poland? Is that why they're called Polish? I don't know. I always wondered that. I always assumed that they're called Polish. Here at Costco, they used to offer a Polish hot dog, and it was incredible. And they got rid of it to save money. Now they only have a beef hot dog, which is it's good, but it's nothing like the Polish was. I always assumed that Polish hot dogs were from Poland, but then why are they called Polish? What makes them different? What makes it so special that they get their own name? For those of you who are just coming in right now, we'll get started with the lesson in less than 10 minutes. In the meantime, the prerequisites for this lesson are plain form, but we're going to be going over the plain form today anyway. So if you don't know how to make it or what it is, it's kind of okay for this lesson. But if you do know it, it will help speed things along. You'll be able to make your sentences much faster. And this is the last cup of tea that I have. I had 3 bags of tea that I got for Christmas, maybe like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I don't know. It's expired. Probably expired like a couple years ago. But this is the last amount of tea. It was loose leaf tea. This is the last cup that I can make with it because it's all gone now. I've finished all 3 packages. It's kind of bitter. Doesn't have a great smell like it used to, but it's still tea. It's still drinkable. So after this, I'll have to go out and buy some, probably inexpensive. I'll have to go out and buy some more tea so I can keep doing these live streams. You don't understand how essential tea is until you have to start recording videos and talking. My voice normally is a bit, like my throat is often dry, so I have to drink stuff a lot. And if I drink cold drinks, then my throat gets more dry. So I have to drink something warm, and I'm never going to drink just warm water. It has to have something in it. So yeah, I'll have to go out and get some more tea. But the thing is, I don't like the taste of regular tea because it's just like bitter and gross. Like, I don't know why people drink it. But something like this one is like, I think it's called like wedding ball tea or something like that. It's kind of like vanilla flavor. It's okay. I'll have to find something good. If anyone has tea recommendations, let me know in my Discord. Speaking of which, I have an active and free and open Discord channel where you can go to hang out with other Korean learners. I posted a link in the chat just now. Victoria says, I think the typical Polish hot dog is made with a different type of sausage that comes from Poland. Interesting. So you have the monopoly on the special ingredient, and no one else can touch it. It's under lock and key, right next to, I don't know, the secret recipe for McDonald's French fries or something like that. Interesting. Aniki, you finally got your member role on Discord. Yes, that's great. I realized I hadn't updated it. It was stuck and it wasn't updating. So I manually made it reconnect, and that should have fixed it. I don't know what happened, but something I don't know, a month ago or a couple months ago, you two must have disconnected from Discord. I mean, Patreon. Luna says, I eat expired food all the time. It's okay. Yeah, you know, me too, but depends on what it is. Expired chips. No. Expired chips, like chips are something that, it's not that they go rotten or anything like that, but they absorb moisture slowly over time. And when you have chips that have been expired, they just don't have that satisfying crunch. It'll be like you can barely hear the crunch. I don't eat expired chips. Obviously expired milk, if it smells, it's down the drain. It doesn't matter if it's expired or not. But other things are sometimes fine. Like it depends. If it smells weird, it's gone. If it tastes weird, it's definitely gone. If it has any mold or anything on it, it's at least that 100% is gone. But other than that, I like tasting and smelling things to check, because a lot of food is, the expiration date is really if it's a best by date, that's totally fine. And a lot of stuff is fine way past the best by date. Other stuff, you really don't want to touch it when it's past the best by date. So usually like chips or crackers or things like that, cookies, all that's done. When it expires, it's expired. Don't even bother with it. But other stuff's fine. I actually have an emergency kit at my house. So I have we have a few days worth of supplies, and all the stuff in there is okay to expire. I think 2 years minimum. We have stuff that's okay to be eaten past expiration for like 2-3 years. That way we don't have to keep replenishing it every single 6 months or a year. But we did just replace the stuff earlier this year, so it's good again. And then some of the items in there are really long shelf life. Like I have some hardtack, which are like really, really hard, dense crackers that have like a 50-year shelf life. Although their expiration date only says usually like 3 or 4 years. They're okay for longer. I also have canned bread, which has an expiration date of like 2 years since I bought it. So it's expired a long time ago, but that also has like a 20-year shelf life. Anyway, it's kind of fun to figure out what stuff's okay and not okay past the expiration date. But I'm not someone to play with fire. If it looks bad or smells bad, I'm done. Like, no, I'm not gonna risk it. It's not worth it. I do it because it's fun to see how long things can go, but it's not because I want to risk my health to save $1. Zandria says, old softened Oreos? No, that's where I draw the line. I was actually thinking of Oreos when I was talking about cookies that have passed their expiration date. If they have not been opened yet, then chips and cookies might be okay for, a few days, even if the package has expired, because inside of those packages, you might not know this, but the reason that packages are sold really puffed up with air in them, it's not really air. I heard they pump it with nitrogen to keep it fresh longer. So once you open it, then it's exposed to the air and then it can go bad. But when it's in the packaging, it's actually not going to go bad very quickly. So it might have a best by date, but it should be okay. Oreos, no. Oreos, the cookies absorb too much moisture too quickly. Like you can open a new package of Oreos and they're great for like a week, but like once the 3rd week rolls around, no, they go in the trash. I can eat them, but I cannot enjoy them. And why am I eating an Oreo? It's like 100 calories per Oreo. What am I doing if I'm eating this 100 calorie Oreo and I can't even fully enjoy it because the outside is soft? And don't get me started on dipping them in milk and purposely making the outside cookie soft. That's different. That's completely different. That's because I want it to be like that, not because it's that way out of the bag. When I buy Oreos, I eat them right away. Yeah, that's what I also don't get is how can you have Oreos that are softened? Who eats one Oreo at a time? Like you eat those by the package. You buy the $4 package that has like, I don't know, 30 cookies in it. Well, let me just take 1, 10. You grab like a line. You do a line of Oreos. Put them in a plate. Sit down by the TV and you watch a show and you eat all of them. You don't really care that it was 1,000 calories because it was really good. Yeah, usually unless there's some special occasion, like in my case, I had a package that I'd opened before I went to Korea and then came back and tried to eat again, and that didn't work. But otherwise, if there's no special situation where I'm leaving the country, that bag does not make it past like 4 or 5 days. They had a new flavor. They had the most Oreo. I don't even think they sell them anymore, but they released them for a short time and I bought them. And it was ground up Oreos inside of the Oreo cream. And it was like 5 layers thick. So it was the thickest cream Oreo, plus inside the cream, they stuffed Oreo powder. We opened the package to try it because I'm like, I have to try one of these. We'll just try one. That bag was gone in 2 days. Like it was from the morning when we opened it, 2 days later in the morning, they're all gone. They didn't last very long. Carly says, what about canned salmon or tuna? I love that we're talking about canned food, stale food, expired food, and I'm going to give a live stream about Korean in a second. Canned salmon or tuna, they do have a long life, but the problem with fish, unless it's salted, I wouldn't trust it too long, because if it's not salted, what can happen is like the oil kind of breaks off, like it starts to separate. Any food will kind of start to separate. And in tuna, it's either oil or water. It'll start to kind of separate, and then the tuna will get really dry. Or actually, it's because the water fills up the tuna, it just kind of breaks apart. So the tuna will just get really soft and mushy. So it's not that it gets rotten and you can't eat it. It's just you won't want to eat it. If it's salted fish, sometimes salted fish tends to do a little bit better. So like anchovies are pretty good. I'm a big fan of like anchovies. I hope you don't unsubscribe, but I love anchovies and sardines and stuff. So those are okay. They even have a long shelf life. I think when you buy them, it's like minimum 5 years, but they can go longer than that. Okay. Oreo connoisseur. Sephi says you're an Oreo connoisseur. Interesting. Okay, well then that's the best flavor you've ever had. For me, it would be those most Oreos. Those ones were incredible. They brought me back to my childhood of dipping Oreos in milk. Like they were so like mind-blowingly good. It's like, this is what I remember Oreos being like when I was a kid. None of the new stuff. The new ones are just like, it just tastes like you're eating cookie with like a little bit of cream on the inside. I'm like, this isn't what I had as a kid. I could swear they were thicker when I was a kid. I think they maybe made them smaller and then released more expensive, thicker ones to compensate. Oh, our live stream should start right now. It's 2:00. Okay. So, talking about Oreos. Someone here is like, I'm staying up past my bedtime to watch this live stream, and all you get is discussion of expiring Oreos and fish, canned fish. Okay. There's no live stream next Sunday. Just keep that in mind. Since TXT, it appears TXT won the vote for the next Korean artist group that I'm going to be analyzing. So starting tomorrow, I'm going to be immersing myself in TXT content. So if anyone has recommendations, please send them to me on Discord. I know, except that I know that they're like a group that's under the same label as BTS. And I know that there are 5 members. One of them is non-Korean, and that's it. I know 0 of their songs. I know 0 about what they look like or anything. I didn't even know the word TXT until a BTS fan told me that TXT exists a few months ago. I just knew the word TXT. I always thought it just meant text message. Okay, so that's what I'm starting to do tomorrow. All right, so let's get started with the lesson. Makes me want an Oreo now. Okay. We have a lot of stuff to cover today. First, we have to learn the plain form, and then we're going to learn how to use the plain form to say, I think that. It's not that difficult, though. So, plain form. Oh, hey, Lexica. Yes, it is Hangul Day tomorrow, actually, although if you're, depending on where you are, it could already be Hangul Day. Lexica, all right, I was going to get started, but let's do this donation from Lexica first. Thank you so much, Lexica. You are my sponsor for today. I'll give you 10 dabs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I got to start the lesson. Happy Hangul Day. Thank you for helping making studying Korean a daily part of my life. You are most welcome, Lexica. Okay. The board's still flashing. I think it's done. You broke my board. Why is it still flashing? Why is it still flashing? Okay, there we go. All right. So, first we're going to learn about the plain form. We're going to learn how to make the plain form in the present tense, the past tense, and the future tense. And they're all a little bit different. But the simplest one is actually the most complicated one is the present tense. The simplest is the past tense, and future tense is a close second to that. Okay. We're not going to be learning about what the plain form is exactly, or how to use it, or when to use it, or anything like that. That's for another lesson. Today, we're just going to be learning about how to use it with the verb 생각하다, to think, because you need to learn this form to say to think in Korean. So the present tense. To make the present tense plain form, it depends on whether you're using an action verb or a descriptive verb. For an action verb, you take the verb stem and you attach 는 if it ends in a consonant, or you just attach a nian if it ends in a vowel, followed by 다. So, for a really quick example, 하다, to do. We get the stem ha, it ends in a noun. Sorry, it ends in a vowel. That's what it's called. It ends in a vowel. 한다. We're done. Let's take another verb, 먹다, to eat. The stem is 먹, ends in a consonant. 먹는다. We're done. Now, there's an exception. If the verb stem ends with this letter, you remove it. So, the verb, let's see, do I have space here? Okay. The verb 살다, to live, 살다, you remove this, and you get the stem. Then you attach 니은, 다, 산다, and you're done. That's it. There aren't any other exceptions for this. So it's pretty easy, right? So that's all you have to do for an action verb. To make a descriptive verb, though, it's completely different. First, you got to take the descriptive verb stem. So that's the verb minus the 다 at the end, and then you put the 다 back on, and you're done. So hard, huh? So let's take an example. For example, 춥다, to be cold. 춥다, to be cold. You're done. 멀다, to be far. 멀다, to be far. You're done. That's it. So if it's an action verb, you have to remove the stem. No, so if it's an action verb, you have to get the stem and you attach 는 or a nian followed by 다 and remove a lir if it has it. And for descriptive verb, you're done. So that is all you have to do for the present tense plain form. I'll leave this up just for a second, then I have to move on. Okay. However, when we're making the form 생각하다 to mean to think, there's one more thing we're going to be adding, and you'll see that soon, and that is 고. Although the plain form is that, what I just showed you, whenever you're using verbs before 고, there are two verbs that will actually change their form. 이다 and 아니다 will change when they're used with 고. Now, the plain form of ida and anida, since these are both descriptive verbs, is just ida and anida. You're done. But when it's used with ko, the ta changes into la. So you get 이라고 or just 라고 after a vowel or 아니라고. So just keep that in mind. When you're using ida and 아니다 with this form, you have to change them because you're using it with 고. But this is not the plain form. The plain form would just be ida and 아니다 as I showed you. Okay. Write this down though. I'm not going to give you an example right now, but you'll get an example in a little bit. So write this down just when you're using ida and 아니다 with 고, they become 이라고 and 아니라고. That's it. Okay, I gotta move quick. That way we have plenty of time for the sentences today. Okay, past tense. Past tense plain form. These are actually, hold on. You can see that the plain form is actually pretty easy to make. To get the past tense plain form, all you do is you take a past tense conjugated verb. So, let's take the verb 하다. How do you normally conjugate it to the past tense? Maybe as 했어요, for example. It'll always have these two letters whenever you're looking at the past tense for any verb, no matter what form it is. Well, unless you're using a different form. I take that back because there's another past tense form, tal, which doesn't use that. That's an older version of Korean. But let's just think of it like that. So you conjugate a verb to the past tense. When you reach these two letters, everything else goes away. Then you attach 다, and you're done. 했다. That's it. It doesn't matter if you're using an action verb or a descriptive verb because you've already conjugated it into the past tense when you make this form. So it's just an alteration of the past tense form you already know how to make. If you don't know how to make this, then don't worry about the past tense plain form yet, but this is how it's done. So 했다, you're done. Every other verb is going to work the same way. How do you make a past tense version of 길다, to be long, 길었어요, 길었다. 가다, to go. 갔어요, 갔다. 먹다, 먹었어요, 먹었다. 이다, 이었어요, 이었다. That's it. I'll leave this up for just 10 seconds while I look at the chat. Wildly says, what do you mean by plain form? It's called the plain form. If you haven't learned the plain form, though, you don't really have to know it for this lesson, though you will need to know it for Korean, for speaking Korean and writing and reading. But for this lesson, you only need to know how to make it. Yeah. Okay. And this doesn't have to do, someone asked a question, is not honorific. It has nothing to do with honorifics. You can have honorific plain form because plain form that's not what plain form is used for. You can say 하시다, like 하세요 is an honorific version. 하셨어요, 하셨습니다, like that, right? 하셨다, that's the plain form honorific past tense of 하다. Okay. Future tense. For the future tense, you have two options. You can either take a verb stem and attach 겠다, normally the 겠다 ending, but that's it, you're done. Like 하겠어요, 하겠습니다, like that. Well, now you have 하겠다, the end. Or you can use the other future tense form, 것이다. So 할 거야, 갈 거야, 갈 거예요, 할 거예요. That would be this form. You can also use that to make the plain form. So what that would look like is 하다 would become 할 것이다. Now, if you're not already familiar with how to make this future tense, it's okay. You can just focus on the present tense for today. Basically, you take a verb stem and you attach if it ends with a consonant. You attach if it ends with a consonant, or you attach, I wrote that as r, or you attach a lir if it ends with a vowel. In this case, 하다 ends with a vowel when you get the verb stem, so 할 것이다, 할 것이다, 이다. You're done. Plain form now. But if you're already familiar with this form, you'll know that 것이다 often is shortened to 거, right? Like 거야, 거예요. So it's the same thing here. 것 can become 거, and 이다 can just become 다. So it's the same thing, 이다 and 것, but this can be shortened to 거다. Let this sit for a second before I tell you the next step. So you can have 할 것이다, or more commonly, 할 거다. And you're done. That's future tense, plain form. That's future tense, plain form here with the verb 하다. But as I explained, there are two verbs that are exceptions when you're using with 고. So when you use this form, 거다, with 고, which we're going to be adding to say to think, this verb here is still 이다, so it has to change to 다. Remember that 이다 becomes 이다 when it's used with 고. So 거라고. So when we're using this in a quoting form, instead of 할 거다, which is the future tense plain form of 하다, instead of that though, when we're using it with the 고 ending, we get 할 거라고. So just a note. So it started off as 것이다. It got shortened to 것 and, it got shortened to 거 and 이다, so 거다. And now it's 거라고. So this is how you're going to see it whenever you're saying to think. Okay, that is all you need to know about how to conjugate the plain form. It was a lot, I know. I went through it as fast as possible because I want to make sure we have time for our sentences. Because the plain form, we're not learning about how to use the plain form and when it's used and how it's different than regular speech. That's for another lesson. There's a lot of stuff to unpack about the plain form. But all you need to know to say to think is this: present tense, future tense, and past tense. And in fact, most of the time, it's going to be present tense anyway. So you don't really have to worry about it too much. Okay, so now we're going to learn how to say I think. I should have written this long, like smashed myself into a corner there. Okay, to say I think or someone thinks, literally to think or to consider, 생각하다. To say that in a form, you take the plain form and you attach 고. Then 생각하다. Again, 생각하다 means to think or to consider. Literally, 생각 means a thought. So to think. So last week, we learned another way to say to think, which was 것 같다. How do you think this form is different than that? Because 것 같다 also means to think. So then if 것 같다 means to think and 생각하다 with plain form means to think, what's the difference? When do you use one or the other? How is this used what ways can this be used that the other one isn't, or anything like that? What do you think? What are your thoughts? Or do you think they're still the same? Just be honest. I'm curious where you're at right now. What do you think is the difference between 것 같다 and 생각하다 when you're saying to think? Oh, it's bitter. Traga says more written, more formal. Aniki says more formal. Okay. A little bit. Yes, you're not wrong. Third person as well. You're getting it. Kolkata feels softer, like it seems. Okay. One is for an opinion. Okay, they're kind of both for an opinion, but sure. Kind of like quoting actual thoughts. Yeah, Maya, sure. There's a little bit more to it, but all of you are on the right track. Kolkata is saying you believe something. The other is to state thoughts. Not quite. You can actually, there's another form you can use mita with this. Instead of 생각하다, you can also use mita for to believe. So I believe that. Slightly different. Yeah, it does have a slightly different meaning. But anyway, okay. So I said that 생각하다 means to think or to consider. 생각하다 is a regular action verb. So what can you do with a regular action verb that we couldn't do with 같다? A lot. 같다 I had taught means to be the same or to be similar or to seem a certain way. In that way, by saying something seems to be a certain way, you're saying, I think it is. 생각하다, though, is just a regular action verb, literally to think. So you can use 생각하다 with commands. You can tell someone, think this, you should think this, or don't think this. But you can't do that with 같다 because you can't say, do not seem this way, right? You should seem this way. It doesn't make any sense. It's not really used like that. You can also use 생각하다 in any tense. You're not going to say, it will seem like it is difficult. No, you would say, it seems like it will be difficult. Or this can be used with past tense. So I thought, future tense, I will think, or I am thinking, progressive tense. 생각하고 있어요, like I'm thinking about it right now. You wouldn't say I am seeming about it right now with 같다. You wouldn't use 갖고 있어요. That doesn't make any sense. So you can use this with any tense. You can use this with any commands. You can use this with negative forms. You can say I do not think, whereas you could also do that with 같다 as well. But here it's more natural because it's just a literal form. So negative commands. Also, that's the main difference, is that you can use it in a more wider variety of ways because it's not restricted by meaning to seem. It literally means to think. However, let me give you an example. So you can say 생각하고 있어요. I'm thinking. Don't bother me, I'm thinking. But you can't say 갖고 있어요 or anything like that. Well, you can say 갖고 있어요, but it wouldn't be that verb. It would be a different verb. 가지다 would work. Okay. You can say, I'll think about it. 생각할게요. Future tense. I will think about it. You cannot say 같을 거예요, or anything like that. Doesn't make any sense. That's saying, I will seem it for you. I will similar it for you. It doesn't make sense. 생각할게요 is totally normal. I'll think about it. So, when you can use either 같다 or 생각하다 to say to think. So if you just want to say, I think something is, right? Present tense. You don't need commands. You don't need negative forms or anything special. So in those situations, you could use either. Well, when you can use either, 같다 sounds much more conversational. So a little bit less fancy, a little bit less written, a little bit less formal. Because 같다 is more like saying, I think, or I guess, or it seems that, it's a little bit softer. So 것 같다 is therefore more often used for expressing what you sense or something that you feel. So if you want to express your opinion on something external, something that's happening away from you, right? Something that's external to you, any external factor. Anytime you want to express, so something that you sense or something that you feel like, oh, it seems this way, use 것 같다. It'll sound much more natural. It's more commonly used for anything like that. Oh, it seems hot. Oh, it seems like a great idea. Oh, that person seems really nice. It's just something external to you. You're expressing your feelings. So use 것 같다. 생각하다, however, feels more like you're saying your actual thoughts. So this will be something like your opinion from something internal, your internal factors. So something that comes out of you is your thought. So you're not just commenting on how you feel about something external, but you're commenting on how you think internally, if that makes sense. So when you're expressing your actual thoughts, use 생각하다. You can think of using the 생각하다 form as saying at the beginning of your sentence, what I think is, and then your sentence. If your sentence sounds good by starting it by saying, what I think is, use 생각하다. It will sound more natural in Korean. And there are many situations where you'll want that feeling in your sentence. Someone says, hey, we've got a really big problem with the data reports. They show we're losing 3% every day. What should we do? Do you want to say, well, it seems that the data is going down? Sure, you're commenting on something external. But if you want to say, I think we should do this, I think the best thing to do, then use 생각하다. If you're going to a restaurant and you're eating pizza and it smells really good and you want to say, oh, wow, man, I think this is going to be delicious. Because you smell something, it smells like cheese or whatever. You're commenting on something external. It's not like your own opinions coming out necessarily. It's more like, that's that way, therefore I feel like that. Something else is causing me to feel like that. Something external. Then use 것 같다. And this is a little bit different. This is a little bit difficult to understand because we don't really think like this in English. We just use both for think. Something external is causing me to think a certain way, or something internal is making me think. But in Korean, they're a little bit more separate. Something that's external to you, something that's kind of distant from you, that's not coming out of you, is 것 같다 when you're saying you think, and something that's coming out of your own thoughts is 생각하다. So both of them are used. I don't want you to think that 것 같다 is much more natural all the time. But usually when you can use it, it gets used more often. And it sounds a little bit more conversational because it's less of just directly saying your thoughts and it's more of just commenting on something. Hopefully that kind of helps. Judy, A82. Judy, $5. I think you're right. I think a big bag of Oreos now at like Vaughn's or something at the supermarket is like $5. Thank you. And here are 5 dabs. Deidre says, one is an actual thought, the other is perception. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. So if you are commenting on something that you perceive, like you're just commenting something on the way that it is, like you're just commenting, this is how it is, use 것 같다, because you're not expressing your thoughts. You're just expressing what you sense, what you feel. But if you're expressing your actual thoughts, out of my brain comes this thought, use 생각하다. So both are natural, just know that you should use them appropriately. If I comment on something external and use 생각하다, that's where it can sound a little bit awkward because they're going to think, why are you saying you think? Like I agree, it is. If something is undebatable, it is a certain way, use 것 같다 to express I think that. You can say, Charsu is the smartest person in the world, but everyone else knows who he is. Actually, this isn't a great example because this could be a think if you're expressing your thought. But let's just say, okay, here's an example. You witness a squirrel fall from a tree. You say, I think the squirrel fell from a tree. Which would you use? You would use 것 같다 because it's something you actually just observed. It happened, it's external. You're not, my opinion is that the squirrel fell from the, it did. You saw it. Everyone saw it. So I think a squirrel fell from the tree over there. Did you see that? Right? That's how you say it. 것 같아요. 나무에서 떨어진 것 같아요. 저기. Like that. You wouldn't say 떨어졌다고 생각해요. Oh, it is my opinion that the squirrel fell from the tree. That's when it would sound awkward because it's not an opinion, it's an observation. However, if you're in a meeting and the person says, what should we do? I mean, we're going to lose money every day. You wouldn't say, oh, I think it would be good, I think, if we were to leverage our assets. I don't know the terms that they use, leverage our assets and something like that. You say some term, you would express that with 생각하다 because you're not just basing it on your observation. You're not saying, oh, it appears this way, like, oh, of course, but you're saying, no, this is my thought. So that's a quick test. If you could say what I think is at the beginning of your sentence and it sounds perfectly natural, then use 생각하다. Otherwise, use 것 같다. Okay. I gave a really long explanation. I know that took like 5 minutes, but I hope that helps you to understand when to use which, because it's a really commonly asked question and something people get confused about. And I see a lot of awkward Korean because of it. So they are quite different. All right. Oh, Lexica, you could use, I think we should order some with 것 같다 as well, because you're using it as your feeling. Like, I feel we should order some more. Like, oh, it seems like it doesn't look like it's enough food. I think we should order more. But if someone's like, hey, actually, you could use 것 같다 because it's still you're still observing something externally. You don't need to express what I think is. But you could use it. Most of the time, though, when you can use it, use 것 같다 because it'll sound more natural. But that's not to say don't use 생각하다 because there are many times when that's more natural. All right. So let's do an example sentence. All of these examples are going to use 생각하다. So the first sentence I want you to make is, I think that Korean is, and then use any verb you would like. I think Korean, as in the Korean language, is, what do you want to say? Do you want to say, I think that Korean is fun? 재밌다. I think that Korean is easy, 쉽다. 어렵다, difficult. 불가능하다, impossible? What do you want to say? Anything. I think that Korean is, I want you to make a sentence. I'm going to start writing one here, but I'm going to look at yours before I finish mine. Oh, Traga, you might want to rewrite with the marker. Since the object marker would be for an adjective, you're not thinking Korean, you're thinking something about Korean, but it's not having an out. Yeah, that's right. 한국어가. Or 한국어는 is also okay, but 한국어가 would be most common. 한국어 소리는 아름다. I think the Korean sound is beautiful. Sure. Maya, 재미있다고 생각해요. Nice. 어렵다고 생각해요. Okay, more sentences. Lexica as well. You want to make sure you have the correct marker, since the object marker would be something is doing something to something. So you're not thinking Korean. You're thinking something else. You're thinking something about Korean, but you're not thinking Korean. So there can't be an object. So it has to be subject marker. 한국어가 어렵다고 생각해요. Hopegate, another one that says Korean is difficult. Totally fine. I would not disagree. 한국어가 어려운 것 같다. Oh, Laura, we're using the 생각하다 form for this time. 재밌다고 생각해요. But if you understand that too, that's great. We did that last week. Okay, I'll wait another few seconds and then we'll go on to the next sentence. 한국어가 재밌다고 생각해요. So Korean, 한국어, 재밌다, fun. So this is the plain tense, So this is the plain form of 재밌다, which is just 재밌다, since it's an adjective. 고 생각해요. So I think that you can think of the 고 whenever you see it in quoting as that. With a quote. But it doesn't really have a meaning like that. It really just signifies the quote has started. 한국어가 재밌다고 생각해요. So I think Korean is 재밌다, fun. Oh no, is this eraser gonna like spread everything around? Sometimes I get erasers that just make the board dirtier than when I start. Okay. I don't think it's good. I do not think it is good. Make this sentence. I do not think it's good. Let's see. Trega, 빌리 선생님 덕분에 한국어가 재밌다고 생각. Oh, that's a nice sentence. You can't suck up to me that easily though, but it's a good sentence. Okay, one point for extra effort. Let's see. Oh, a few other sentences. I did get 공부하는 것이 재밌다고 생각합니다. I think studying Korean is fun. Great. We had another sentence. 예쁘다고 생각하죠. 생각해요. I think it was supposed to be 생각해요. Okay. Luna also. 너무 어렵다고 생각해요. Nice. 재밌다고 생각해요. 너무 재밌다고 생각해요. Okay. All right. Traga has our first sentence today. 좋다고 생각하지 않아요. Perfect. Perfect. 아네키 좋다고 생각을 안 해요. Perfect. 좋다고 생각하지 않아요. Perfect lexica. Let's see some other sentences. Hopegate 좋다고 생각을 안 해요. Perfect. And there are many ways you can say this. So I'm saying perfect as in their sentences is perfect, not that that's the only answer you can get. 좋다고 생각 안 해요. Petar. Nice. Sefi would be 좋다. 좋아하다 is to like. 좋다 is to be good. Although it's also used to like, but you wouldn't use 좋아하다 for to like. 좋다고 생각하지 않아요. Nice row 2. Daniela is making her own sentences. 수학이 재미없다고 생각해요. Still, it's a good sentence. I think math is boring. Math's not entertaining. Okay. 좋다고 생각하지 않아요. So I do not think 좋다. It's good. 좋다고 생각하지 않아요. I do not think it's good. I don't think it's good. 좋다고 생각하지 않아요. What I think is that it's not good. Kind of like that. 좋다고 생각하지 않아요. Okay, next sentence. I think that 철수 Your sentence is going to start with 철수가. I think 철수 is a Korean person. What I think is 철수 is a Korean person. Now this is a little longer since you're going to have to use a different verb here. I think 철수 is a Korean person. CHF Pitar. CHF, wait, how much is that? So I know how many dabs to do for you. Thank you. Is it Peter or Pitar? Sorry, I just realized it might be Peter and I'm pronouncing it weird. Oh, wow. That's Swiss francs. How is Swiss francs CHF? How is CHF? How? That's like $13. Thank you, Petar. Okay. Like Pitar. Pitar sounds pretty cool though. I don't know. I'm going to give you 13 dabs while people are still writing the sentence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Whew. Finally got to join one of these classes, says Peter. Nice. I'm guessing you've seen some of them on the channel, but this is your first time watching it live. Welcome. Happy to have you. Okay, let's see who is first with the sentence. 철수가 한국인이라고 생각합니다. Perfect, Aniki. Perfect. Traga as well. Perfect. Maya. 철수가 한국 사람이라고 생각해요. Perfect. Hopegate. Perfect. There is no space though for 한국인 and 이다, so you just want to smash those together. So 한국인이라고 hope. But other than that, your sentence is perfect. Even with the space, it doesn't look wrong. Just I'm a stickler for spaces. Lexica, 한국 사람이라고 생각해요. Perfect. Okay, let's see some other sentences. 한국인이라고 생각해요. Nice. Nikki, 한국 사람은 nice. And then Keith, 한국인이라고 생각해요. Nice, Keith. Row 2, 좋다고. You can't use on before a verb like that. It has to be directly before a pure Korean verb. That's one way to look at it. So you could do 생각 안 해요, but not 안 생각해요. That wouldn't work. 한국인이라고 생각합니다. Nice, attaboy. Is it really attaboy, or is that just a nickname? I don't want to be making fun of your name, but it totally sounds like attaboy. If that's your real name, though, that's actually pretty cool. But yeah, it's also funny at the same time in English. 한국 사람 in Mountain Vines, I would check your spelling for the 이라고 part. 한국 사람이라고 생각해요. Nice, Subarna. Okay, so 철수가. So I think 철수 is Korean. You could either write 한국인 or 한국 사람. 철수가 한국 사람이라고 생각해요. It's like tea stuck in my throat. Oh, 철수, 한국 사람, Korean person. 이라고, this comes from 이다. Remember, 다 is normally the plain form, but when you're using it with 고, you get 이라. So 이라고. 이라고 생각해요. So I think 철수 is Korean. 철수가 한국 사람이라고 생각해요. If you wanted to make this into a question, you can just add a question mark. 철수가 한국 사람이라고 생각해요. So do you think 철수 is a Korean? 철수가 한국 사람이라고 생각해요. Yes, I think 철수 is Korean. Okay. The next sentence. I think Charsu lives in Korea. I think Charsu lives in Korea. Traga asks, which one is more used, 한국인 or 한국 사람? 한국 사람. But it depends if you're talking about just regular conversation. I think I hear 한국 사람 more often, but they're both the same thing. 한국인 has more of a formal feel, but that's it. So therefore, 한국 사람 is more commonly used in regular conversation. So if you're writing a paper, you're going to want to use 한국인. If you're just speaking with your friend, 한국 사람 is a little better, but you could say 한국인, sounds fine. Okay. I think Charsu lives in Korea. 한국에서 산다고 생각해요. Nice, Traga. Perfect. As well as Aniki. Perfect. Aniki, you're so close to being first, but I can't see the message that you wrote first and then retracted. Maybe there was a small typo. 철수가 한국에 산다고 생각해요. Perfect. Hope. Alexica. Perfect. 한국에 산다고 생각해요. Perfect. For those of you wondering, you can either have 한국에 or 한국에서. The verb 살다 is an exception in that it can use either 에 or 에서 when you're doing something at a location. Other verbs, though, it would matter. You have to use 에서 when you're doing an action verb at a location. 살다 does not. You can use 에 or 에서. Let's see a few other sentences. Olivia, nice. Trevor. Trevor, for conjugation, you might have missed the one part in the lesson where I mentioned there is an exception with verb stems that end with a lir. You drop the lir first. So you'll get 산, not 살은. But other than that, Trevor, it's a good sentence. Peter. Oh, and then Peter as well. Not 살다고, but you first remove the lir, so you're left with 사, and then you attach a nian, you get 산. So 산다고. Other than that, good sentence. Nikki as well, nice. Luna, nice. Aniki says, I dropped my phone on my face. I've had that happen. My phone is also quite big. It's the Galaxy Ultra. The reason I got this is for the battery life, since I can't have a phone that dies while I'm using it, so I got this one, but it's really heavy. I got that a few years ago though, so now it's I'm sure that the newer one isn't as heavy anymore. 철수가 한국에서 산다고 생각해요. Nice, Rodu. Mount Vines, nice. Subarna, nice. Okay. 철수가, so our friend 철수, 한국, Korea에서 산다. So lives in Korea. 생각해요. I think 철수 lives in Korea. 철수가 한국에서 산다고 생각해요. You could have also said 한국에 산다. When you're using 살다, you can either use 에 or 에서. It has the same meaning. So I think 철수 lives in Korea. Okay. Next question. Next sentence, actually. I think... Oh, no, here we go. We already did Charsu. I was going to do Charsu again. I thought the movie was short. I'm not going to give you any hints. I'm just getting ready to correct your sentences. I thought the movie was short. Good luck. Now, there's kind of a trick in this question. I don't like giving trick questions, but in this case, I think it's okay because I'm going to give you the answer after, so it's okay. Otherwise, I wouldn't trick you like this. But I thought the movie was short. So the context is someone asks, how was the movie? I thought the movie was short. Traga, Aniki. Oh, Aniki was first today. Perfect. Traga as well. Perfect. I thought I'd trick you. I didn't trick either of you. No apple pie asks, what is 산다? It's just from 살다, to live, in the plain form. 영어가 짧다고 생각해서. How come I'm not getting anyone? I thought I'd trick everyone. Mario as well. I got you. I mean, I didn't get you. You were correct. Mario's right. Trevor is right. I thought I'd trick more people. Lexica, perfect. If you're wondering why I didn't give you a perfect, only members get the perfects. Everyone else gets a nice or good job. But members get perfects. Keith, nice. Good job. Hopegate. Hopegate, small mistake. Can you fix it before I fix it? I'll let you try again. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to say there's a small mistake. I'm not going to say what it is. If you fix it, you get full points. You still get a perfect. Okay, anyone else want to try the sentence? No apple pie. I'm not sure what the verb is you're using at the end. You did almost get the word for movie. Yes, Hopegate. Perfect. Okay. Make it a little longer. I thought I'd trick everyone, but no one took the bait. So I said, I thought the movie, thought, past tense, was short. But when you translate that, you don't need to say, I thought it was short. You can just say, I thought the movie's short. So the movie is short, I thought, is what you get. You don't need to say, and you wouldn't want to say, 짧았다고. It was short. It was short. That would sound really awkward if you said 영화가 짧았다고 생각했어요. That would be like saying I thought the movie used to be, or I had thought the movie was previously short. It sounds unnecessary in the past. Unnecessary? What's the word? Yeah, felt like it doesn't need to be in the past tense. So no one took the bait though. 영화가, the movie, 짧다 is to be short. So 짧다고 생각했어요. So I thought the movie is short. This is what I felt like when I saw Lord of the Rings in the movie theater. Really. The first Lord of the Rings, actually all three, when they finished, I was like, oh, we need to know what happens. I felt like they were short. Even at like 3 hours long, Return of the King was short. If you saw it in theaters, you'll know what I'm talking about. Everyone was like, oh, where's the next one? What happens? Of course, everyone who read the books already knew, but I didn't know. 영화가 짧다고 생각했어요. So I thought, past tense, the movie is short. Okay, next sentence. I think that I already did it. I think I already did it. You don't need any special verbs for this. I'm just giving you the word imi for already. I think I already did it. Pay attention to the tenses. I think I already did it. Lao, you can use 짧을 줄, not 짧은 줄. Like, I thought the movie would be short, but that's because you're not saying that I knew that the movie was short. You're saying I thought it would be. So you would need a would be feeling in there, and that would be done with the future ending. 짧을. So you can say, 짧을 줄 알았어요. Like, I thought it would be short, but it wasn't short. But that's not what you're trying to say. And I actually added 줄 to the future list of voting options for live streams. So we'll probably get a lesson on that as well in the future, so you can figure out how. So I'll go over how it's used in more detail. Let's see. Deirdre, 영어가. Yeah, I see you fixed it. Nice, nice. Aneki, 이미 했다고 생각해요. Aneki is the fastest one today, the fastest trigger. 이미 했다고 생각했어요. Yes, Traga, perfect. As well as Aneki is perfect. Lexica, perfect. Hopegate, perfect. Let's see everyone else's. Trevor, good job. Lara, good job. Nina Perez, good job. Mario Cagelard. Yeah, you can use 벌써. Fine. That's good. Flo, nice job. Nikki, nice job. Keith, good job. No apple pie. Oh, I see you're using 생각 the other time. So the spelling, you want to check the spelling of that. It's in the title of the video for 생각하다. Kenneth Ian, nice. Peter as well, nice sentence. Subarna Banerjee, nice job. Great sentence. Everyone did great. Even the sentence with the typo, I still know what you're saying. Oh, Victoria, perfect. Okay. 이미 했다고 생각해요. So I think 이미 하다, to already do it. 했다. I already did it. 이미 했어요. 이미 했다고 생각해요. So I think that I already did it. You could just say 이미 한 것 같아요. I think I already did it. That's fine too. So whenever you can, use the 것 같다 form. But whenever you can't, use the 생각하다 form, and it'll be natural. So that's a kind of the test. if you said 것 같다, if you could say it seems and it makes sense, use it. But if you'd rather say what I think is, then use 생각하다. And last but not least, I think it will be okay. I think it will be okay. You're going to use the verb 괜찮다, the descriptive verb that means to be okay, to be all right. I think it will be okay. What I think is it'll be okay. My opinion is it'll be okay. You're so fast, Aniki and Traga. 괜찮을 거라고 생각해요. Perfect. As well as Traga. Perfect. Olivia, nice. Mario asks, does 벌써 mean exactly the same as 이미? No, they're different. 벌써 is for expressing surprise. So 벌써 is already with unexpected feeling. So 이미 is already and 벌써 is already? So you wouldn't say, I already did that. It wouldn't make sense. But you could still say 벌써 했다고 생각해요 if you're talking about someone else. I think they already did it. Like 벌써, it's already done. But you wouldn't say, I already am done. So it's to show some sort of surprise. 이미 is used more often, but 벌써 is like already. Deirdre. Thank you, Deirdre. Do you have a message I can read? Anything you want to say during our chat? I can totally spell your name without looking now. Did I get it right? Okay, yeah. If I got it wrong, then that would be embarrassing. Yeah, let me give you 10 dabs while you're writing something. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, my arm's getting tired. 10. Lexica. 괜찮겠다고 생각해요. Perfect. Hope Gate. Hope. There's one small mistake in your sentence, Hope. Check it and write it, and I'll give you the full points if you can catch it yourself. Victoria, perfect. Let's see. Mount Vines, nice sentence. Someone asked the difference between 겠다. Well, that would just be the difference between 겠다 and 것이다 in normal usage. So that's a whole separate lesson because there are so many situations where you use one or over the other. The really basic difference is that you're going to use 것이다 when you're saying future tense normally. So 거라고 is going to be 9 times out of 10 more often used than 겠다, but that's really oversimplifying it because there are situations where you have to use 겠다, like would or could, like could have, would have, like that. And Traga, you ask another question. So many questions today, Traga. It's okay. I'll accept your questions. I'll accept your questions because you paid. You bought my attention. And we're doing the last sentence anyway for this. Okay, six dabs. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from Traga. Thank you. And your question is 항상 늘 and 언제나. 항상 is always. 늘 is always. It's only used in poems and songs because songs use poetry style Korean. Don't use 늘 unless you're trying to be poetic. It'll sound really cringy otherwise. 언제나, no matter when, whenever. 언제나 is also a little bit poetic in that it sounds like saying at any time, whenever that may be. Literally, whenever is what it means. 언제 plus 나. Whereas 항상 is always. So 항상 is more of like the extended period, like always, and 언제나 is once, but whenever, if that helps clarify. Versus like continuously versus one time, anytime within that continuum. I have way more in the tank. Oh no. Peter, yeah, I'll charge for each question. No, I don't charge for questions, but I do selectively ignore if someone's asking like the multiple questions over and over again if I don't have any time left in the lesson. But today I have time left, so it's okay. All right. I think it will be okay. Wait, hold on. Did Hope rewrite it? Ah, yeah, Hope. So your mistake was just the koda part. You wrote koda. However, if you were to try to pronounce it kodago, it comes out as nago anyway because the T and the L sound are made with that same part of the mouth. So it's going to come out as kodago anyway. In fact, that's why that's a different topic to go into. Originally, the ida actually did conjugate as la that was the regular conjugation. And then the ieo and all that is an exception. So, okay. So this is actually the non-exception is irago and ida and, well, sorry, not ida, but ieo and yeo and stuff like that. That would be the exception. That would be like a dialect form almost. Okay. Or I should say not that, but yeah, because it was from 이어서. 괜찮을 거라고 생각해요. So 괜찮다, to be okay. Future tense, 괜찮을 것. So it will be okay, 라고, because it's 것이다. So 거라고 생각해요. So I think it will be okay. Future tense, will be. 괜찮을 거라고 생각해요. I think it will be okay. And that is the lesson for today. I'm going to take questions for a few minutes, but first, I have to make a thumbnail. So I'm going to look at the board and pretend I'm surprised. Then I can use this as the video thumbnail. I think that's good. Okay. I'm going to take questions now. Remember, there's no live stream coming up for this Sunday. I'm actually going to be this week and next week watching millions of TXT videos and listening to their songs and trying to prepare an analysis video for them. I think I'm going to make it as one gigantic video. So get ready for that. It's going to be at least like an hour long. Some giant video all about all the TXT members. Okay. All right. Row2 asks, how would you say, I don't think you're right? Well, to be right, there are lots of words you can use for that. The most common one I think you want to know is 맞다. 맞다 literally means to get hit, but it's used in this to hit the nail on the head, that sort of hit. So to hit is used to be right, to be correct. So you can say 맞다고 생각해요. I think it's right. Or 안 맞다고 생각해요. I think it's not right. Or 맞다고 생각하지 않아요. I don't think, like that. Chaga, what's the difference between 예전 and 옛날? You know, a lot of these questions you can quickly find the answer by just searching in the dictionary because it shows right up. 예전 is a while ago, 옛날 is a long time ago. So if you're talking about when you were a kid or when you were a teenager or 20 years ago, that would be 예전. 옛날 is like if you're 90 years old and you're talking about when you were a kid. Or if you're talking about before you were born, like back in the day, that one's 옛날. Or 예전, like a while ago. So yeah, most of the time you're going to use 예전, and 옛날 is when you're talking about history or telling a story about history. Okay, I'll take a few questions until 3:15 and then we'll stop for today. Hopefully this lesson made sense. If you have any questions about the lesson, feel free to ask, or questions about anything related to Korean or Korea. I'm also open to those as well. Aniki asks, how to squeeze the words out when you're writing a daily journal? What do you mean? I did have a video about how to write journals that I uploaded a few months ago. You might want to check that out. That could help you. I give tips for what you can write about when you're making a journal. Odu says, I just downloaded your book with Talk to Me in Korean. Which book? I hope you mean you bought it, not just that you downloaded it. It is available. Like some people have been, posting it and just sharing it for free or even selling it, which I really don't like if someone else tries to sell it. 안 맞다고 생각해요 or 맞다고 생각하지 않아요. Yeah, you can use either of those. But yeah, Odu, glad you're liking our materials. I'll have to meet up with them again sometime next month when I'm in Korea. Hope asks, first you mean 네. So what you wrote is 네, which is if you have it with the letter that goes inside like that, that one means you. So your thoughts. I think you mean 내, which is where the line goes in the middle. No, 내 생각에 literally just means in my thought, in my opinion, and they're not equivalent. In my opinion is just an expression. You're just saying in my opinion. You can still say in my opinion, blah blah blah. I think with the 생각하다 form. They're not. It's not a equivalent. It's just another form you can use in addition to this. Traga says, I search on the National Institute of Korean Language every time, and I search questions on Google. That's the problem, is searching on Google, because when you search on Google, you're going to get some websites like Hi Native, which is not a bad website, but the problem is that you don't know who's answering your question there. It could be a fellow Korean learner. It could be a native speaker. It could be an actual teacher. And there's no way to identify if what this person's saying is accurate. And I found lots of incorrect, like completely wrong explanations for tons of stuff when I searched there, because it's just anyone can post. You might also find Quora, which is even worse for Korean questions, because a lot of people who use that don't know Korean very well. So it's kind of the blind leading the blind sometimes with Korean questions. You have to be careful about which sources you're using. Even some better sources will have wrong posts from time to time, just because it depends who was answering them. I prefer National Institute of Korean Language, but I also will check with other sources too, because they are not perfect, but they're the closest to perfect that you can get. Aniki says, I feel like my day is pretty boring, but I still want to keep a daily journal. I mentioned that in the journal video, so you might want to check it out. I give some tips about that. In fact, I say that writing about your day is often the worst thing to write about, because it's just so boring and it's hard to think about what you did. So yeah, check out the journal video. I don't have a link to it directly, but it's in my Korean tips and tricks playlist, or you can just search journal on my channel. You'll find it. Anna Green as well. You'll want to watch the journal video for the answer to that. Oh yeah, Rotu, take care. Bula Sketches says, 곧 같아 is often spoken as 같아. Yeah, it's okay if you write ko as well. Just know that it's more of a spoken version. So if you're writing an essay or it's something important, you want to impress someone with your Korean, don't shorten it to ko. But for speaking, it's totally fine. For chatting, it's totally fine as ko. I also talked about that in the last week's live stream about 곧 같다. In fact, most of the time you're going to see it as 같아요, not 같아요, but 같아요. Even though you don't want to write it that way, that's how you're going to hear it 9 times out of 10. So I said this was the last cup I could make. I guess it's just all the dust at the bottom of the bag. I just took a sip that was like grainy with all of the tea dust at the bottom. Yeah, that was gross. Okay, anyway, there's no more of that tea, so thank goodness. Yu Guio says, did you know that League of Legends' biggest tournament is starting today in Korea? I don't play League of Legends. I didn't know that. Personally, I found the game kind of boring. The explanations you've provided in your materials are really clear. I have books 1, 2, and 3 of Korean Made Simple. I also have a lot of Talk to Me in Korean books. Nice. Yeah, I have about the same. I also have several Talk to Me in Korean books. Every time I go to their offices, Hyunwoo will give me like some random book that they just published or something they're working on. He's like, here, don't let anyone see this yet. It's coming out or something like that. So I have several books. Now they've been out for a while, but I have several books he'll give me, like their newest books. So I have them right on my shelf. They're pretty good. I like their books. I haven't used them because they're for beginners usually, or intermediate, but I like having them. They're cool. Aneki says, even Koreans can give wrong explanations. One Korean told me gamer 놀다 is correct. No, they weren't Korean. That would not be a native Korean speaker. What you're saying is correct though. Even Koreans can give wrong explanations. Yes. But if they told you something that obviously sounds wrong in Korean is correct, they're probably not a Korean. At least not a native speaker. I don't know what their nationality is, but they're probably not a native speaker. Traga says, I try to learn 10 words from topic every day, but when I search in the dictionary, sometimes the description from other similar verbs is not clear. So Traga, that sounds like, well, congratulations to Traga for entering the intermediate level. This is an intermediate level problem. First world problems for Korean learners is that you're finding words that have the same meaning as other words constantly. That's an intermediate level problem, or even advanced level people experience that. But you're definitely not a beginner anymore, Traga. It's time for you to transition into the Korean part of the dictionary, because that's where I've been forever. The English part of the Naver dictionary is only useful as a quick reference, just so you can get a baseline for what you're looking at. Always go straight into Korean, because the Korean definitions are always clear for every word you're looking at, even the ones that have similar meanings. You can easily see in Korean, oh wait, it's different. But they never translate those to English. Victoria says you have the same cup. This one, the Contigo, I love it. I got it for a birthday present, I think a couple years ago. My wife got it for me, or Christmas present, I can't remember. And yeah, it's great. It keeps stuff hot forever. Like I put tea in here once for 4 hours and it was boiling hot. And then 4 hours later, it was still boiling hot and it was really annoying. But then I learned just make it the temperature I want and then it'll stay at that temperature for like, several hours. Tim Tum says, what games do you like to play? Team Fortress 2. I've been a big player of Team Fortress 2 for almost a decade now. Yeah, probably a decade. Lately, I restarted playing Cyberpunk because they released a patch. I'm not going to get the DLC if anyone's curious. I'm not giving them any more of my money for what they did, but the game's a lot better than it was on launch date. So that's been pretty fun to get back into that again. I don't have much free time though, so I don't play that many games, but let's say an hour a day, I find here and there to play some sort of game between filming or writing. Glory Dorothy asks, how does hagwa mean an apple and apologize? The reason is these are different words. So different words, different hanja combine to make different meanings. In English, we have the same thing. How is a cup both a unit of measurement that's not the same as the size of a cup, which changes? Like, why do we use cup for both? Why do we use feet for our feet, but also for a foot? Like, it's the same thing in Korean. They're just different origins, different words. So sagwa and sagwa for apple and apologize are from different hanja. So it's not the same meaning. It's just the same sound. And you never use sagwa hada to mean apple. That has to mean apologize because sagwa hada is a verb. So if you say 사과를 먹었어요, everyone knows you mean I ate an apple, not I ate an apology. That doesn't make sense. Tim Tum, I played TF2 for... You're not a pub stomper, are you? I'm really good, but I'm not like pub stomper level. Maybe that's good. I don't want to really do that. But yeah, I almost got into competitive. Just didn't really... I didn't want to devote that much of my time to it. So I'm just a really good casual player. Traga says, Korean definitions are complicating and require a lot of time to understand. Yeah, so another thing you should do, Traga, is so you look at the Korean definition, and if you still can't get it, look at some of the sentences, but don't look at Naver's own sentences. Scroll down to the Weverse translations. Like, it changes all the time. It used to be like VLive, and then it's Weverse. I think it's still Weverse. Look at the Weverse example sentences because those are the ones that are natural and they're short and easy to understand versus the examples that Naver has built in. Those are always like really long advanced level or like business Korean or something like that from articles or books. I don't like those ones so much. They're harder to understand if you're just trying to learn the word. But the Weverse ones are super easy to understand. Adrian says, can you clarify gamer 놀다? So game is a game. You would say game 하다. So you stick hada onto a noun to make it into a verb. So game hada. 놀다 doesn't mean to play. It does not mean to play a game. 놀다 means to hang out, to socialize, to meet friends, to play, as in let's get together and hang out. Or kids are playing together. Doing activities together is what 놀다 means. So you would say gamer hada, not gamer 놀다. That would be a beginner learner mistake. So if someone told you that's natural, either they are not in their right mind or they're not really a native Korean speaker. And nothing against them, but I wouldn't believe someone who said that would be a native speaker in the first place. But it's an easy to make mistake because you learn that 놀다 means to play. But it's not really just to play as in to play something. It's to play in by itself, just the word to play. Like, oh, we met up and hung out. We met up and played together, like that sort of play. If you want to say play a game, it's hada. If you want to say play a flute, 불다. Play a guitar, play a, I don't know what guitar you play like that. 켜다 is to bow, like a bowed instrument is 켜다. 치다 is like for a guitar or piano, like anything you hit to play it. There are different words for to play for every instrument. And yeah, for game, it's just hada. Yeah, and 놀다 is, yeah, that's correct. As Aniki says, it's not a transitive verb. It's intransitive. That means transitive verbs are verbs that can take an object. So, for example, 열다, you can open a door, 문을 열다. But 열리다, to be opening, to open, that's intransitive. All passive verbs then are by definition intransitive. You're not going to be taking an object. So you can't, the door opens a door. It's just the door itself opens. It's not opening something. It's just opening. In that case, it's intransitive. This is not a great explanation. I have a separate video about transitive versus intransitive verbs. But yeah, it can't take an object in the first place. And the biggest reason is it just simply sounds awkward as soon as you hear it. Gamer, 놀다, like, what? If you think about it for a second, it sounds wrong. So yeah. But people pretending to be native speakers is not that uncommon. It's really common with language exchange apps. That's the one thing you have to be careful about with language exchange apps, is that there are tons of people who are using the apps that are not legitimate users, that they're trying to run scams. It's a common thing just in the internet in general. There are people who are trying to send out spam mail, oh, you won $1 million, you've inherited, that sort of thing. It's also on language apps. So just report those people when you see them. They always get filtered out and new people come in. But if you see someone that is a little bit fishy, that's Korean, doesn't seem quite perfect, then it's not uncommon. I commonly will catch people pretending to be Koreans on Hello Talk, Tandem, other websites like that. It's really common. I wish it wasn't as common as it is, but it's really common. So that's why I usually only message people that will have, or I'll accept only messages from when I use those apps. Lately, not really. But when I use them, it would only be from people who actually have a post history. So I could see they have other people that post on their page that think they're legitimate and that they're interacting with other people, because scammers aren't going to waste their time on writing Korean journals and correcting people and stuff like that. They just want to quickly find their next target. Traga says, I have the Naver Dictionary in French. Yeah, it's better in English, but still Korean is where it's at. Lexica, 놀면, you can say 놀면서 게임을 했어요. Or yeah, 놀고 게임 했어요 is like we played and then we played games. That works. I would say 놀면서, like we played together and then did games. So like we played games while hanging out together. Kind of like that. Haya said you should do a video on people pretending to be Korean. It's sad. I wish I could say it's mostly people pretending to be Korean girls, but I've also seen some Korean guys as well. Like, yeah, it's just a really common thing. Not just Koreans either. They'll just pretend to be any nationality. Like people will pretend to be native English speakers is so common. This is so common. I'll see other people's profiles on language exchange apps, and they'll have reviews written, but from other users say, oh, I love talking with this user, but their English is kind of weird. And if I click on their profile, it'll show, oh, they're from, California, native English speaker, but their English in their own profile is not native speaker, is not a native level. So yeah, it happens. And I'll usually tell them, I'm like, hey, just so you know, this person who wrote a review on your page, they're not a native speaker. Oh, they told me they're born in Los Angeles. I'm like, definitely not. So yeah, it happens. Just know that it happens. You don't have to be paranoid about it. You'll figure it out. If you're, you say, hey, can we have a conversation on the phone? And they're like, oh, I don't want to do that. And they never want to, actually share their life with you. They don't want to talk with you or anything like that. Yeah, it's probably a scammer. If they try to ask you for money, it's a scammer. Okay, I think that's good. I don't want to take too much of your time. We've had a fun lesson today. We learned a lot. Any other last minute questions? Then I'm going to turn off the stream for today and I'll see you again in 2 weeks. Aniki says, I've seen that chero is a formal form. I have a lesson about chero. Aniki, you can use any other form to just say, you just wouldn't say with, in the state of that. Like, for example, if you wanted to say, with the door left open, you can just say, I open the door and then, or the door is open and, you don't have to say with the door open or in this situation or while sitting down. You can just use a different form. So you just change the sentence to not use it. It's not really a formal sounding expression so much as it's just less common in casual speech, but it's not like formal sounding. It just sounds a little bit, I wouldn't say formal, I'd say a little fancy. But I have a separate video about chero. I think it's in the Learn Korean series. Mafaz, okay, one more question. Mafaz says, how can I practice big numbers, such as with over man and stuff like that? Yeah, that's a good question because I also have a hard time with large numbers in English too. Like if someone says, 440 billion, I'm like, wait, how many zeros is that? With Korean, you have to chop off 3 zeros. So if that helps, every time you get to if you chop off 3 zeros, that gives you the American number equivalent in dollars. So if you're talking about currency, remove 3 zeros. So if you're talking about a billion, well, now you're back to a million. For numbers though, not specifically for currency, you just want to understand a number. You have to actually chop off 4 zeros. So man is 10,000. So you chop off 4 zeros and now you have your 10,000 spot. And then the next one is ok. So you have to chop off another 4 zeros for that. So you get 100 million when you go up to ok. Beyond that though, yeah, good luck. It's just tons of zeros you have to keep chopping off. Practice though, and know that most of the time you're not going to be dealing with numbers more than ok. Like ok is used, like shibok is pretty common. I'll see, ok in the dozens used very commonly, but up until there, like beyond there, not so much. Like if you're reading a news article, you might see higher numbers, but then you have time to process that while you're reading. In regular conversation, it's usually just up to ok is what I'll hear. So you don't have to practice too many big numbers. Man is really common. Manwon, think of like manwon is like less than $10. 10만 원 is really common. 100만 원, 1000만 원, those are all really common. Ok is the next one. 10억 is pretty common, but you don't hear 100억, 1000억. You don't hear those larger numbers too much. And I have a video about that actually in my Korean FAQ series. Search for the video for large numbers and you'll find it. I have some extra tips in there. Okay. I think that's good for today. Thank you everyone for coming to the lesson. And I will see you all next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.